All right. Thank you, everyone, for coming tonight. We all be tired, yes. We're all very busy. I understand that. So, what I have in mind, so we will, tonight the meditation will be slightly different again, but similar to the last class, which was an analytical meditation, right? So there's two types of meditation. There's placement, when we are mainly paying attention to something, observing. So, for example, when we observe our breath, when we pay attention to the sensations, this is placement. We're not doing anything, we're not analyzing, but we're just observing, watching. And the second type of meditation is analytical. So what does it mean? It means that we do some analysis, right? We investigate something. So, and what's the idea tonight? So it is, as I mentioned, so the idea of the workshop is to train our minds in the 4 pillars, right? So there's building blocks. So we've been doing awareness training. We've done awareness of the breath, just paying attention, counting 1 to 21, that kind of stuff, attention. Then also awareness of sensations. And we have just started to develop what we can call meta-awareness or self-awareness, basically to be aware of when emotions are first stirring in our minds and to understand when that happens, to be able to catch it. And mainly today, the plan tonight is to investigate anger, right? So as from previous sessions, when we were doing the investigation in terms of sensations, so becoming aware of sensations, I mentioned that we can divide sensations into 3 types, right? So we can think about pleasant sensations and feelings, unpleasant sensations and feelings, and neutral. So whatever type of experience we have in life will be tinted by one of these sensations, feelings. And why this is important? Because if we don't pay attention, it's like the mind becomes like a yo-yo, right? So we can be tossed and turned and pulled and pushed between emotions without even realizing what's happening. So we've been cultivating awareness of sensations, feelings. And then last week, as an invitation for reflection, there was a handout which was basically to keep record of that process. So basically to develop that self-awareness, right? So to describe an event, a situation, or a person, how we feel when we encounter that situation or person, and mainly unpleasant situations. So the idea was to observe, to pay attention to mainly unpleasant situations in life. Then how does it feel in the body? Yeah, there's a yuck feeling, and where, right? So when anger or frustration arises, each one of us will feel that frustration in different parts of our body. So some people might say they feel pressure in the head. Some people might say they feel heaviness in the body. Some people will say they feel tension. Some people might say there's a heat sensation, like in the stomach, for example, a burning feeling. So there's different sensations that we experience when the emotion is first arising in our mind. So then when you're able to catch it, that means we might prevent entire snowball of consequences that might arise from that emotion, if that makes sense. So sensation, so the idea behind the handout was, okay, event meaning people, situations, whatever it might be. How does it feel in the body in terms of unpleasant experiences, unpleasant sensations, feelings, but also was to pay attention to the thoughts, right? And why this is important? Because when we think about emotions, there is a storyline behind an emotion, right? So there isn't such a separation between emotion and thoughts. Actually, it's connected. In the brain, they are connected. So what does it mean in practical terms? It means that we can think that anger, for example, has a storyline. There's something that anger tells us, right? And if we don't pay attention to the thoughts, we will get entangled in those thoughts. And as a result, we might engage in certain actions of body and speech that are detrimental to oneself and others. So the idea here is to develop that self-awareness, to be able to catch that emotion when it's first arising, stirring in our minds, and to try to reduce its power. So it's not to suppress or ignore. Actually, it's the opposite. It's to become aware. Yes, now I'm feeling frustrated. Now I'm feeling angry. But instead of allowing that to be expressed as an outburst of anger, right? Because an outburst of anger is detrimental to ourselves and others, because we end up saying and doing things that later on we regret. So instead of having the outburst, we can hang on a moment. Now I am frustrated. I can feel the frustration building up. I can feel in my body. Now I'm very angry with whatever it might be. And now I can notice my thoughts. My thoughts are telling me to do or to say certain things, right? My thoughts, anger is telling me certain things about this person or situation. So the idea here tonight is to analyze anger. And then also not only to analyze anger, but also then to be able to apply antidotes to reduce the power of anger and frustration. Because just to become aware, yes, great, but then what do we do with that? So it's very important to apply antidotes to reduce the power of that emotion, if that makes any sense. Okay, so we'll do this analytical meditation. So basically, I will guide you guys. And then we have some questions and answers, or just sharing experiences, what makes sense, what doesn't make sense. One thing that's very important is that when we are learning about the mind, when we're learning about mind and emotions, it's very important to bring that into our own experience, because it's not just something we read about, that we read about in a book. It's not something that we listen to. It's not like a story, but we really need to see how it is in my own experience. Does it really feel like that? Right? To really pay attention. What is my experience of this emotion? How does it feel for me in my daily life? This is very important. Yeah. So I think that's the idea in relation to do this analytical meditation, is to really bring into our experience, how does it feel when we are under the power of that emotion? What is the storyline behind the emotion? What does anger tell us to do? Can we notice the exaggeration of anger, right? Because as I explained before, anger has two main functions. One is the exaggeration. So anger exaggerates the negative qualities of something. So when we are under the power of such power of emotion, we become blind to someone's or something. It could be an object, it could be a person. We become blind to the qualities of something, and all we see is 100% negative quality. So it's a very biased emotion in that sense. And in a way, we can say, it's possible to say that anger is like an enemy-making machine, right? Enemy-making emotion, because once we are under the power of such emotion, even people who are close to us, they appear like our enemies. And once the emotion cools down, we are able again to see, oh my goodness, what has just happened, right? So, yeah. And then we are able to restore our caring and respect for that person. But when we are under the power of that emotion, we become blind in a way. So this is one function of anger. Aaron Beck, who was, I think, an American psychologist, he said that when we are under the grip of anger, 90% of the qualities we perceive are mental projections. So what does it mean? It means our minds are creating something. There's an exaggeration from our side. We are projecting something. We are projecting negative qualities onto something. And that thing, that person, just appears to us as being the most horrible human being, for example. Right? So, of course, I'm exaggerating a little bit, but just to get a sense. And also with anger, so this is one function, and the other function of anger is the wish to harm. And when I say the wish to harm, not necessarily an outburst, because normally when you think of anger, we think about an outburst of anger. We think about yelling, screaming, punching, even killing someone, right? Anger, rage. But the wish to harm can be quite subtle. This wish to harm can be expressed as, for example, giving someone the silent treatment, right? There is a difference between, for example, not replying to a text message because we're busy, or not replying to a text message because we are annoyed with someone, right? There is an ill intention behind that. We want to kind of create some discomfort in someone because we feel that discomfort. So there's this idea, there's this kind of payback, kind of a bit of a revenge kind of thing, even though it can be very subtle. Or sometimes anger might come out as a sarcasm, for example. We might make some not so nice comments. Sometimes, oh, it's just my sense of humor. But deep down, we know we're trying to provoke someone because there is a kind of there's hostility or animosity towards something that we just feel the unpleasant sensation ourselves, this unpleasant experience, this unpleasant emotion, and then anger propels us to create the same discomfort in the other person. So this is basically the function of anger. And oftentimes, I think we are able to prevent ourselves from doing or saying harmful things to others. But nonetheless, what happens inside our heads, inside our minds, is we create this kind of inner dialogue, right? How we know about all the terrible, horrible things we might say or do to this person next time we see them, right? And that is really disturbing because we can ruminate over and over again this dialogue that might never happen, but nonetheless is very disturbing, right? So the idea here is when we do this analytical meditation, is to really try to connect that with our own experience. And then also we will begin to apply some antidotes to counteract the power of anger. Okay? So, yes, let's see. Time-wise, we're doing good. Okay, so just position again. So just bringing awareness to the body, sitting cross-legged on the floor, or if it's difficult, we can sit on chairs. It's not a problem. So the legs, then the spine straight. Then the hands, we can raise the shoulders, open the shoulders, place the right hand on top of the left, connecting the thumbs, and with the head just tilting like that, and relaxing the jaw, relaxing the mouth. And with this analytical meditation, we can even keep our eyes a little bit open because, right, so if we close our eyes, we might get distracted. The mind might lose its power. We might stop paying attention to what is being said. So we just need to keep checking, right? So we can keep our eyes. But if we have our eyes wide open, then there's also the danger of distraction because there's many things around us. So we can find kind of a middle way. It's something that we can keep checking internally within ourselves. But because it's analytical meditation, if we just keep our heads like that, just staring towards the floor, so then we don't allow distractions, and also it prevents the mind from, it prevents laxity from arising in our mind. So perhaps that could be an option. But then if you guys want to close your eyes, it's totally fine as well. But just keep checking to see how one's mind is doing. Because especially this time of the day, because we all have very busy lives and most of us have full-time jobs, so we must be a little bit tired. So if we feel we're getting a bit tired, we can open our eyes. Okay? So then just for a few moments, we will just bring awareness to the breath. So something that we have been doing over the last few weeks, but just checking in, just paying attention to the breath. Inhalation and exhalation, not trying to control or change the breath, but just paying attention. And just before we start our meditation, let's begin with a good motivation. Otherwise, it's very important to have a good motivation because that helps to bring joy to our minds. And what is the reason that we meditate? We meditate to bring happiness and well-being to ourselves. So a good intention, motivation before this meditation session could be, okay, we will engage in this meditation practice tonight to bring happiness, well-being, peace of mind to oneself and others. And just paying attention to the breath, inhalation and exhalation. That's all we have to do. just being like a gatekeeper, just watching the breath. So tonight, we will engage in this analytical meditation to analyze anger. What is anger? And how does it feel to be angry? And also, to start applying antidotes to counteract the power of anger, the destructive force of anger. So what is anger? Anger can be defined as a destructive emotion. And why destructive? Because it disturbs the mind. And also it prevents us from seeing things as they are. It prevents us from seeing reality. So how does it feel when we are gripped by anger? So when we are gripped by anger, the object, and when I say object, it could be a person, it could be a thing, it could be anything, but that thing, the object of our anger, will always appear 100% negative. And anger causes us to lose our capacity for discernment and act out in our own best interest. We might end up doing or saying things out of anger that later on we regret. And anger also exaggerates the negative qualities of something, and it makes us blind in relation to the positive qualities of that same thing. Anger also generates hostility and animosity towards others, and even towards oneself, because we can also think about self-hatred. So anger has as its function the wish to harm, to retaliate. And even though we might prevent us from doing so, we might prevent us from doing and saying harmful things at times, it disturbs our peace of mind as we get entangled in an inner dialogue of negative thoughts, wishing to say some not so nice things to someone who we are angry at. So to experiment with this, to analyze how anger works, the invitation here is to visualize in front of us a person from our life. For this, if we take someone from our life, it becomes more personal. But we can also take a person we don't know. Bring to mind a person you dislike or have some animosity with. But for now, do not bring to mind someone who has harmed you in the past, because this would be a much harder process if we do so. So when we go to the gym, right, we start lifting 5 kilos. We don't start by lifting 100. If we go to the gym for the first time in years and we try to lift 100 kilos, we might end up with an injury. So likewise, for this exercise, just choose someone, just visualize in front of you someone you dislike for whatever reason. Or we can even bring to mind a person close to us, but we can bring to mind a moment in which we were angry at this person. Someone with whom we might have experienced some anger. And we can use this experience to transform our minds. So just for a few moments, just bring someone to mind. Just visualize this person or this situation in front of you. Remember such person and think of them in front of you, and remember the hostility, the animosity, the hard feelings. Even though we don't need to generate the hard feelings, we can just remember the hard feelings at that time. How did you feel, or how do you feel now when you visualize this person in front of you? Or how did it feel at that time in that specific situation with someone? How did that feel? Or how does it feel right now when we visualize this person in front of us? How does it feel in the body? What do we notice? When we think about this person, how does he or she appear to you when you are gripped by anger? How does he or she appear to you at that time? Or how did he or she? Or how does he or she as we visualize them in front of us? What negative qualities do we perceive or did we perceive in him or her? How much might we be exaggerating these qualities? Do these qualities really lie within this person? Does everyone see the same qualities in this person? Are these qualities there all the time? Are they permanent? Or is it possible for them to change? Did you notice an exaggeration of those negative qualities? Now, look at how this exaggeration caused you to feel about this person. How does this exaggeration cause us to act towards this person? How does our anger impact our relationship connection with this person? Does anger give rise to animosity, the wish to harm, the wish to retaliate, the wish to repel, to destroy, or to run away from that thing that is the cause of our anger? Or whatever, or some other form of aversion towards this person? This is the main function of anger. It generates animosity. It hinders connection between people. It harms connection between people. And now, notice the thoughts, the storyline behind anger. What does anger tell us about this person? What is the story that anger tells us about this person in front of us? What's the kind of inner dialogue that keeps replaying in our minds when we are angry at this person? Or even angry at ourselves as well. So what is the storyline? Just notice the thoughts, the animosity, the inner dialogue. And now also notice that if we become angry and retaliate, yell back or hit back, you only create another cause of suffering, of distress. So in that way, it's like adding more fuel into a fire. And that's hardly an intelligent way to deal with a situation, because it doesn't bring any benefit to anyone. It just sets in motion another wheel of suffering and distress. Just notice the consequences of anger. What does it create in our life? What happens in our relationships or connections with people when we act out of anger? So in that way, how can we transform our own anger into tolerance, patience, and compassion? Because it's not about suppressing or ignoring anger and frustration, because it is already there. As human beings, we're all bound to experience anger and frustration. But how can we reduce its power? How can we transform anger into tolerance, patience, and compassion? So again, if we visualize that person in front of us, we can think that this other person, this person in front of us, is a human being just like ourselves, who wish to be happy, and just like ourselves, doesn't wish to, and just like ourselves, also wish not to suffer, also doesn't wish to have distress in their lives. So we can bring to mind this person and think that just like me, he or she wants to be happy. Just like me, he or she also doesn't want to suffer. We are all the same in wanting a happy life and a life free from suffering and distress. So in that sense, we are all the same. This person in front of me is just like myself. Not less, no more, just like myself, who also wants to be happy and who also doesn't want to suffer. So we all seek a happy life, and no one wishes for difficulties or troubles. So we all share the same aspiration to have happiness and avoidance of distress. So this person in front of us is just like us. And he or she is a person just like myself, another human being who is also worth of dignity and respect. So in that sense, we are all the same as well. Acknowledging that everyone, just like oneself, is worth of dignity and respect as a fellow human being. And then we can also notice that all of us, human beings, that we all suffer, right? The very definition of a human being means that we are vulnerable, imperfect, and also wired for struggle. So there isn't such thing as a perfect human being. So in that way, notice that we are all bound to make mistakes, that we all have our imperfections. So in that way, yes, other people make mistakes, I make mistakes, we all make mistakes. So the fact that we make mistakes as human beings is not a surprise. We all have our struggles and imperfections in life. We all can be under the grip of anger, for example, as well. So in that way, if we only focus on faults, we will only see faults, right? Because we're all bound to make mistakes. So if we go around searching for mistakes or faults, flaws in people, we will certainly find them. It's not a surprise. But can we make a habit of also perhaps noticing the positive qualities of people, or just a sense of appreciation for other human beings? And in that way as well, as human beings, since we're all bound to make mistakes and we all have our imperfections and struggles, at some point, certainly, friends, family, whoever that person might be, workmates, co-workers, at some point, they will not act in accordance with our wishes, needs, or expectations. And at some point, our needs or expectations will not be met by this person. At some point, that person will fail to meet our expectations and needs. So when that happens, it's not really a surprise. And then, also for a moment, notice, again, visualize that person in front of us, in front of you, and notice their positive qualities. What are the positive qualities of this person? What are the things about this person that we appreciate? So in that way, we can also make a habit of noticing the positive qualities in other people. We can develop a habit of developing a sense of respect and also appreciation for others in our life. And most importantly, when both myself and others are similar in that we wish to be happy, what is so special about me? Why do I strive for my happiness alone? When both myself and others are similar in that we do not wish to suffer, what is so special about me? Why do I protect myself and not others? So if we cover our mind with tolerance, patience, and compassion, there is nothing that we cannot handle. It all depends on our attitude. If we habituate our minds towards patience, tolerance, and compassion, then wherever we go, we will be able to deal with all life situations in a constructive and positive way. The more these inner qualities are strengthened, the more we are protected from having to deal with frustration and anger. So patience, tolerance, and compassion, they are the healthy qualities of mind that protects our mind from experiencing frustration and anger, which are causes of suffering and distress. And the more they are developed, the more we are protected from negative emotions that creates disturbance in our minds. In that way, it would be like having a strong immune system, and wherever we go, we are protected. We can go into an area with the plague, or we can go back in a couple of years ago, we can go into an area with COVID, right? And we won't have to worry about antidotes or vaccines because we are immune to it. We have immunity to it. So once we develop tolerance, patience, and compassion, it will be as if we have also placed strong leather on the soles of our feet. And wherever we go, we will be protected from injury by thorns and so on, no matter how rocky the road might be. And then gently we can just open our eyes and stretch the body a little bit. I have just a few minutes to relax. Because I just want to have some time for, just questions or comments, experiences, anything you guys would like to share, struggles, difficulties, questions, anything. How was it? Because I guess I can talk. I guess my own experience once we understand what anger is a game changer in a positive way, but also it creates some discomfort initially too.
Yeah, and I think you have to invest the time
Yes, so I'll just repeat so people can listen. So the comment was that yes, it is. Correct me if I don't repeat it correctly. That yeah, in our societies, we just have the habit of actually suppressing or not paying attention to our emotions, kind of leaving it aside. So actually, when we start to do this exercise of paying attention, noticing, it is, how does it feel? Is it, does it create some discomfort? Or yeah, it creates some discomfort. Yes, it does. Yeah, because yeah, normally what do we do? We like, no, we kind of, or we are too busy, or we just numb. I think he used the term numb. Yes, we numb ourselves, and by, it could be distraction, it could be just thinking about something else. But then what happens eventually over time? Let's say, especially with anger, what might happen eventually at some point?
Well, I suppose it has to come out somehow in some way.
Exactly. So what happens? An explosion. Yeah, somehow in some way. So the way, an analogy that I like, I don't know if you guys have ever used a pressure cooker.
Yeah, or even like the straw that broke the.
Yeah. Yeah, because there's a lot of, because when you think about anger, so it creates a lot of agitation in the mind, right? So we can think about also then the wind energy, the wind, the air. So we feel it. So at some point that needs to come out. And it might come out then in a big explosion, or sometimes psychosomatic symptoms as well. We might start to get one sickness here, one sickness there, high blood pressure, increased heart rate. It weakens the immune system. Sometimes we're not able to sleep, and it just disturbs the body and the mind completely. So another approach, and I do understand that in the beginning it creates a lot of discomfort because it is something new, which is not ignoring or suppressing that emotion, but it's neither the explosion, but it is becoming aware, understanding. So that's why the last couple of classes, I put some emphasis on awareness of body, then awareness of sensation, because we feel the yuck feeling. Oh, now I'm getting angry. Frustration is coming. Hello, anger, you here. And we can laugh it off. I don't know if you guys have ever watched that cartoon called Inside Out. No? By Pixar.
Oh yeah, with the emotions.
Yeah, it's really cool. So it's inside the mind of a little girl, and there's a control room, and there's many different emotions, and one of the characters is anger. So we, of course, we don't have characters live inside our minds, but we can picture in that way, and we can even visualize the character, or we can draw our own character. Hello, anger, you're here now, and as soon as we laugh it off, the tension already diminishes. And then we know what we're dealing with. It's anger, so it's not about suppressing, and it's not about the explosion, but it's understanding, and now I'm frustrated, I can feel it. Maybe I just need some time out. Maybe I just need to go for a walk in the park. Maybe we do some mindful exercises, some breathing exercises. And then we are better prepared, ready to deal with that emotion. And any comments in relation to the thought, how it was to visualize that person in front of us? Any comments on that? No?
No, mine was too busy.
But was it possible to notice an exaggeration, the animosity towards someone?
Yeah. Like that, I felt angry.
You felt angry. Yes. And at that particular moment when we are angry at someone, that we become blind to their positive qualities, or we become blind to the fact they are a human being just like ourselves, who also wants to be happy and doesn't want to suffer, right? And then that's kind of the wish to retaliate because we have some discomfort. And anger has the function of wanting to retaliate, so meaning to create the same discomfort that we are experiencing. It can be very destructive. A lot of and if at the global level, I guess it's possible to say that all the conflicts happen out of anger, right? Yeah. Anyway, any questions, comments, experiences?
But normally, I would be so freaking frustrated.
Yeah, so I'll just repeat again so people can hear. So the comment was that driving here tonight, I had all the the red lights, and but then I was rationalizing, thinking, no, it's okay, it is okay, it is okay. But normally there will be a major, so it would be a source of frustration. There will be a lot of frustration arising in the mind, and it's true. And it's true. There is a lot of frustration. So and why? So the exercise, the analytical meditation tonight was in relation to a person, but we can also think about frustration arising in relation to situations. And what can be helpful, perhaps. So there's a lot of tools to counteract frustration, because frustration and anger, they can arise in different forms, right? So, but just briefly, how can we try to lessen the power of frustration when, for example, in a situation in which we just have all the red lights? So what can help us is to think, to contemplate, to reflect that, yes, we all going to encounter experiences that we do not wish for. So this is part of life, right? So the more we reflect that, yes, sometimes we will encounter certain situations. And that kind of helps us to reduce our distress, because then it's not really personal, it is life. So it is, it's not like accepting, but it's recognizing or realizing certain facts of life that we know, and that's what I mentioned before. So not getting what we want, yes, it's going to happen. Losing what we like, yes, it will happen. And then encountering what we don't wish for. So the more we understand that these three facts are given of life, when we encounter them, it's like, yeah, well, it's life. Because then patient means, what's the meaning of patient? So we can think there's anyway 3 types of patient, but to keep it simple in the way that we can apply to this example is, first of all, how can we train our minds to remain relaxed when we encounter difficult situations? Because the difficult situations will come. Challenges and problems will come, and sometimes the problem will be just facing the red lights, but still it's a problem. It creates annoyance, right? So the problem not necessarily is losing our job, but it could be encountering, yes, the red lights on the way. So training our minds to remain open and relaxed, rationalizing helps, but also, yes, trying to train over and over again to have a mind open and relaxed. Because even if frustration kicks in, if we're able to bounce back sooner, is already an achievement, right? Because perhaps it might be it's ideal, but yeah, for us not to have any frustration, yeah, it's anyway. But can we bounce back? So frustration kicks in. Can we bounce back? And the sooner we're able to bounce back, it means we are able to regain our peace of mind. So the ability to remain with this open and relaxed mind, and how can we train ourselves is, can we endure discomfort? Right? Because what happens then if you remember the sensations, right? There's an unpleasant sensation. We get stuck in traffic. There's an unpleasant feeling. Are we able to sit with that unpleasant feeling and just breathe it through? Like, right? And that's why, for example, things like yoga practice can help, because when we are holding an asana for a while, there's a lot of discomfort. But then by breathing, right, we manage to not to hold on, but to breathe through discomfort, to endure discomfort. Once I had someone giving me an example, which was kind of interesting. He was a tattoo artist, and he said for him, he had a lot of tattoos, of course, and he was saying that tattoo was like that for him, because then it was kind of training for him to be able to endure discomfort. I would say even pain, like tattoo is really painful. Anyway, but we just need to be able to endure discomfort, because we're all going to face situations or experiences in life that stir these unpleasant sensations. So the more we can endure discomfort, or the faster we can bounce back, right? And sometimes it could be by rationalizing, understanding, hey, it is life, right? There's like, okay, does that help a bit? Does it make sense? And also sometimes we might feel more sensitive or less tolerant and patient, for example, when we are tired or hungry as well. So depending on many external conditions, for example, if we are sleep deprived, if we are hungry, cold or hot weather, then there's more sensitiveness, less tolerance to situations as well. So, or even hormonal changes as well. So something to pay attention to when we feel a bit more sensitive to things. And so the more we develop things like, there's many steps, there's many antidotes to counteract anger and frustration. And again, when you think about frustration, because normally when we think about that word anger, we think about an outburst of anger, right? But we can think of anger as, nonetheless, anger is an emotion. So there is a disturbance inside our minds. So there's different levels of intensity. So normally we use terms like annoyance or frustration. Normally we don't really use anger so much because we perceive anger as an outburst, right? But that kind of frustration and annoyance is a form of anger. It's just less forceful. But there is this kind of a yuck feeling, this kind of unpleasant experience. Even like being stuck in traffic, yes, it creates some discomfort in the body. If we pay attention to it, it creates some kind of sometimes tension or whatever it might be. And then it creates that disturbance in our mind as well. So the more we can generate and improve qualities of mind like patience. And what is patience? We can think about patience. There's many types of patience, but if we can, for now, we can just think of patience as our ability to endure suffering and the recognition that life is a series of problems or adversities, because normally we try to live our lives preventing negative conditions from happening, right? And that can generate anxiety. But another approach is, well, we cannot really prevent negative conditions from coming, but can I prepare myself to face and overcome negative conditions? What can I do internally to prepare myself to face and overcome those negative conditions? Because they will come. So to be prepared, to be prepared that they will come. We will face problems. We will face simple problems in life. For example, being stuck in traffic or the red lights, right? Nonetheless, it is a problem. It is something we did not wish for. So how can we prepare ourselves so when those things happen, is okay to welcome those things, to welcome problems. It doesn't mean that we should go around and create suffering for ourselves, but it means that to welcome, meaning, it's okay, right? It is okay. Can I stay with the mind open and relaxed now that I've encountered a negative condition in my life? Because it's part of life. It's not a big deal. And in reality, we can think that, the red light or being stuck in traffic, that is our teacher of patience, right? So it's not a problem. So as soon as we think that this situation is a teacher of patience, great. And why a teacher? Because it's an opportunity for us. It is an advice, right? That's what teachers do. They give us advice to practice patience. And in that way, when I bring to mind my time in India, well, every day, I don't know how many times a day, we had so many opportunities to practice patience. We wake up in the morning, when I have a shower, what happens? There's no water. Then we want to have a coffee, what happens? No electricity. Then we want to try to send an email, something, internet's down. Then we're like, what do you do? Right? I remember once, I think it was last year. Oh my goodness, it is shocking. But then what do we do, right? We went for lunch as a group. I don't know, maybe 20 of us, a big group in an Indian restaurant. And we all ordered our meals. I remember me and another couple of friends. It was an Italian restaurant in India. Anyway, we ordered, I think, gnocchi. 2 hours later, the waitress comes. Sorry, we don't have gnocchi. What? You waited 2 hours to tell us? And then everyone is hungry, starving. And then we're like, okay, what do we do now, right? How to keep the mind open and relaxed? I have to say, it was, keeping the mind open and relaxed may be possible, but the stomach, there was hunger, right? So one of our friends went across the road and he bought some samosas for everyone because 2 hours had passed and no lunch. And then me and this other couple of friends, we had them to choose something else from the menu and waited for another 20 minutes. So, and in that way, I think, yeah, it's such an experience when you live in those countries because you are forced to develop patience. If not, then you'll be frustrated all the time. Like there's no water, no electricity, 2 hours waiting for a meal. What do you know? That's life, right? So it is a bit extreme, yes. But nonetheless, they are great teachers of patience because it's only because we face those experiences that we can practice. We can, okay, can I endure discomfort? Can I maintain an open and relaxed mind when I encounter situations I did not wish for? When I didn't get my lunch after 2 hours. That was very extreme. That was very extreme. And we faced that many times going out for lunch or dinner as a group. Many times we wait for hours to get our meals. And every time we would just make fun, make jokes. Yes, this is, teacher of patience, teacher of patience, teacher of patience. And the mind is like, yes, but I'm hungry. Yeah. But slowly. But yeah, there is some discomfort in the mind. It's going to be the yuck feeling, the frustration will arise. But once we are able to catch it, right, and diminish and reduce the power, because otherwise what we might do, we might go to the waitress, we might go to the manager and be angry at them and say horrible things at them, right? We might act in a very detrimental way, harmful way out of that frustration. Of course, we can still write a review and say, but India doesn't matter because they will continue doing what they do. So nothing will really change. But yeah, we can try then, but with an open, relaxed mind to go to the manager and say, look, next time this and this, but things will change. Maybe not. Maybe just go somewhere else for lunch next time. Anyway, any other questions, comments? How's everyone feeling? Good? Okay, so let's finish with a dedication, right? We start with a good motivation and we finish with a dedication, which is similar. So why is that we meditate? It is to create happiness and the causes of happiness for oneself. So likewise, we can think that by the practice of our meditation tonight, may that bring also happiness, peace of mind, and well-being to everyone, right? Because just like me, he or she, and all of us, all the 8 billion human beings on the planet, we all want to be happy. And just like me, he or she, they, all of us, 8 billion human beings, we don't want to suffer. So we can dedicate our meditation tonight to be the causes of happiness for everyone and to be the causes to alleviate everyone's distress. So may all beings everywhere plagued by sufferings of body and mind obtain a notion of happiness and joy by the practice of our meditation tonight. Thank you.